Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Area DMG. I am your host, Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today is November 3rd, 2014, and you are watching Area DMG. Oh my god, it's glorious. Anyways, we're using a little, we're using a little stand and the GoPro and this thing, so I can be up close and personal with you. I'm sorry I'm not Alex from Target. You just have to deal with it. So, let's talk about the news. If I sound a little bit groggy, or a little bit gruff, it is because, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 2 weeks, I covered 3 conventions, and then we have events this weekend. I have so much editing to do. I have so many photos to tag. I have so much to do. So much to do. But I'm doing it all for you. Everything I do it for you. I just don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to miss a thing. I don't want to... So, the news. Yeah, today's NEWSITY. Well then, you know what I love? Sega's 3D classics. I love those on the 3DS. They're amazing, all of them, even Altered Beast. Now, Sega put out some other ones in Japan. And I was like, we're going to get those, we're going to get those, we're going to get those. People were like, no, we're not going to get those. They never bring these things out. Oh, no. And I was right. I was right. Yeah. Okay, I was right. So anyway, Sega announced today that the Sega 3D classics from the second wave will be coming to America in 2015 for about $6. That would be 3D Afterburner 2, 3D Fantasy Zone, 3D Fantasy Zone 2, 3D Thunderblade, and 3D Outrun. And I would suggest people go out there and buy those, because if you go out there and buy those, they are sure to make more of them. And we need to get to Golden Axe. Golden Axe. Think about it. These 3D classics are always altered in some way. So think about a 3D classics Golden Axe with, think about it, the arcade graphics, the Genesis extra levels and features, and then the Sega CD Red Book audio. All jumbled together in a sweet 3D love fest of Golden Axe. Yes, and yes, I want that. If you buy all these 3D classics for $6 each or so, you could be pushing us toward getting that. And that would be a truly noble thing. Be noble. Buy at least 3D Outrun. Ladies and gentlemen, 3D Outrun is good. Outrun is really good. Yes. So there's that. And then for Vita owners this week, there's the Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is finally on PlayStation Vita. So if you like bleeding children, throwing poop, and being attacked by fetuses, you might like the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. And you might also be the Marquis de Sade. Keeping an eye on you. Pervert. So, speaking of perverts, there was a EEDAR study today. You know, EEDAR the Barbarian. Actually, it's the Electronic Entertainment Design and Research Group, aka EEDAR. They released a new study about gender breakdowns of gamers. I could not find the sample size for this. I'm not a big fan of polls or statistics because I think that those can be rigged. Quite. You can kind of look at a poll or a statistic and then bend it in a way or phrase a question in a way that you get what you're looking for. For example, there's this particular statistic out there that says that women make 71% like 71 cents to the dollar that men make, right? That's based off of all women money wise making like and all men money wise. So they take this is the income here and this is the income there. Now the most recent thing is they're like, well, for the same job. Not necessarily, because often there's no differentiating between part-time and full-time. Also, some women actually work less hours than men, and vice versa. If you did salary, you'd find that salaries are actually very comparable. If you look at salaries between men and women, salaried employees, not hour to hour, which is what they use there, then look at, well, this is what women made hourly, and this is what men made hourly for these things. They might not be the same job or even the same profession, but let's just say it anyways because it sounds good. But if you look at salaried workers, people who they don't get overtime, they're not part-time, they're not full-time, they're salaried, you'd find that that sometimes, or rather very often, it's women who make more than men. Here's another surprising statistic, and we're going to go into these ones here. Looks about, according to their study, that a good 45% of where is it? Active gamers. It's like 45% women and 55% men across all of it, just total. 45% of women play video games. 55% of men in this poll play video games. Okay. Now, when they break it down further, they divide it into three things, which would be handhelds, mobiles, which are a separate market, and consoles. They leave out PCs because, as far as we can tell, PC gamers are all men. All of them. Every single one of them. All the time. There are no women on the internet. Ever. Nope. Not at all. Yeah. I don't know why they left PC gaming out. I was just going to make a joke about, that they're... I'm just not going to do it. So, yeah, they left PC gaming out. I thought that was really weird, because that's actually a valuable demographic. Steam is a valuable demographic. Maybe adding PC stuff would skew the overall poll that says 45% of gamers are women and 55% of gamers are men in one way or the other, and that might have ruined their narrative. But let's go back to their narrative. On smartphones, mobile devices, Android, iOS, iPad, etc., it looks like 55% of gamers on those platforms are women. And they choose to play matched puzzle games. And then 45% of the gamers on that platform are men, and they also choose matched puzzle games as their number one genre. So you've got a 55 women, 45 men split on mobile games. On handheld games, that's the Vita and the 3DS, it's 45% women, 55% men. These are really, really clean-cut statistics. Kind of makes me suspect them almost. Well, mostly. So, anyways, this statistic states that 45% of people who play on handheld video games are women, 55% are men. Men prefer RPGs, women prefer arcade titles. How odd. Then when you get to consoles, it's 60% men, 40% women. Women prefer RPGs, and men prefer action titles. They were looking at duration of gameplay, and they divided it into casual games and, quote, hardcore games, etc. On consoles, more women play hardcore games for much longer. And on the mobiles, more women play more casual games longer. So you've got, in the middle, you have handhelds, and those are pretty evenly split. It's like, it's about across the board, like 50% so or so. It's pretty good. But, so it means that on consoles, women play more hardcore games for longer, and on the mobile devices, women play more casual games for longer. So if you look at this, it means that using that data, more women are playing more variety of games for longer periods of time than their male counterparts. Cool. So let me repeat that again. more women are playing more games more often and for a longer period of time than men. If I wanted to be controversial for a moment, I could also mention that there was a Pew Research Foundation study that said around this time in 2014 that women are 3 times more likely to use Twitter. They're 5 times more likely to use Instagram and Pinterest. It's weird. So it looks like for every 1 male there is on Twitter, there's about 3 women. That is weird. And it's women talking to other women for the most part on Twitter. Women are very prevalent on Twitter, exceedingly so in comparison to men, which is weird because Twitter itself hires mostly Asian men. And in fact, like their breakdowns for their hiring policies are completely one-sided, but their product is being used by more women than it is by men. So let's see. If more women are playing more games more frequently and for longer periods of time, they may have likely developed more attachment to video games than your average male counterpart or gamer. And then if more women are using Twitter, which by the way, the people who use Twitter the most are usually mobile users. A good chunk of Twitter users only use it on mobile, meaning that the people who have their devices on them, their Twitter devices, their phones, are playing games and then tweeting, going in between those because they play more casual games. So more women are more attached to gaming and more attached to social media, all at Twitter. That could mean that certain hashtags are actually populated by a majority, almost a 3-to-1 majority, of women, by women and of women. Which is weird because the major voices in some of this hashtag stuff are men who talk about women, but the majority of the people following the hashtag or attached to it may actually be women talking to other women. That kind of ruins the narrative that this particular hashtag is only about overweight white cis males with long glorious neckbeards or attempts at them behind it. Now I do not believe that death threats are ever okay, but it kind of paints it differently. If the majority of these things are coming from, if the majority of threats against women are coming from women, but the majority of threats shown are from men, it's almost as if the people being threatened are trying to push one type of narrative instead of the truth. It's almost as if people who claim to get hundreds of death threats a day and then only show you 2 or 3 that are specifically from men are trying to not say something. In other words, what are they not showing? If what they're not showing is that the majority of these threats are coming from women, that destroys their narrative. Because their narrative right now is, look at me, all these men are ganging up on me. All these men. But if it's not men who are doing that, and it's women who are committing these threats, that changes the narrative, because then it's a little harder for people to relate to it. Because a lot of times we want to think of, because we have assigned gender politics, we have assigned that all men are the victimizers, that men are the masculine defenders and warriors who come in and victimize things, they destroy things, razz things to the ground. If that's not actually the case, if it's not matching that particular stereotype, it turns the entire use of this into some kind of trope. It makes what's being said trivial. It means that people are trying to push a particular agenda in a particular way in order to say one particular thing. That's all the mythical patriarchy or the magical spaghetti monster man out there in the sky oppressing people everywhere. If that's not the case, and it's really just a lot of women versus women, then maybe people should probably rethink where they are on this. Just maybe. And I look at that and I'm like, well, if all these polls and statistics are right, why are women hating on other women so much? They shouldn't do that. I never, ever, ever advocate the use of violence or threats. I think that's awful. I think people should be good to other people. But I have to worry about people who are pushing a narrative. People who are pushing their DVD sets. People who are like, well, I'm being beat on by these... Oh, God. You know, I took feminism studies. I took all these things. I've read all these books. And if that's really what's going on, it's so irritating. If it's women threatening other women, and that is the majority of it, then the women out there saying that it's men doing this are damseling. Or rather, they're using this narrative. They're pushing a sexist narrative to promote themselves. And that is why I can't support them. That's why I can't support a lot of these things, because there's a lot of ick behind all of it. Like, behind this hashtag and that hashtag, there's a lot of ick. I don't like threats toward people. I think that's bad. No, actually, no, I don't just think that's bad. I know that's bad. And if the narrative is completely different, if it's completely, thanks to these polls and statistics, completely different from what's being said, there are a lot of people who got really emotional and angry and sad over liars. They're being lied to. And you know what? That's why people do these things. That's why people get so mad and so heated. When people are being lied to, that's what happens. And it's such a shame. It is such a shame. On to happier news. We will have a lot more content up this week. We're going to have a new gaming paraphilia up soon, as well as some more content from the 3 conventions I covered, which were Rocky Mountain Con, Mile High Con, and RottleCon, which is the Running of the Leaves. Yes, I went to a Baroni convention and a Pegasus convention. And you know what? I actually like the people at those conventions, okay? They're good people. They had an anti-bullying panel, of course. They also had a panel on feminism, gender identity, and the fandom, because there are a lot of interesting gender identity issues brought up, not on purpose, not by the show itself, but by the fans of the show. And I thought it was kind of fun. These people were nice. They were really nice. I actually did not tape the feminism panel. Instead I taped Cabaret Otaku's panel, which we will actually have up. So I was given kind of a choice. I was like, let's see, do I want to tape a panel on feminism, or do I want to go to Cabaret Otaku and hear people sing and perform on stage? You know what? Singing, art, music, love. These things will always win over panel discussions. So yeah, that's it. We're going to have a lot more content up for you later. We're trying all sorts of new equipment. I'm using the GoPro for this. I have a little miniature stand thingy. And we're also going to try and see if we can get these out at a good 60 frames per second. Because Windows Movie something or other doesn't really make those. cuts all my 60 FPS stuff to 30, which it's still super smooth, but it's not as smooth as I want it to be, okay? So yeah, whew, lots of stuff. And I hope you're looking forward to it, because we're looking forward to sharing it with you. My name is Philip Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and you're watching Area DMG, and you are now caught up.